What's up, airplane collectors? Welcome to a model airplane review. I'm your host, Ray. Today I'll be reviewing the Gemini 200 1:200 scale Spirit Airlines Airbus A320NEO, item number G2NKS1235, released in November of 2023. In this video, I'll do an in-depth review of the model, after which I will list off its pros and cons, and at the end, I will decide whether or not I recommend this model to other collectors. The box for this model is a standard issue Gemini 200 box. The protective packaging on the inside is made from white foam, and the box itself is made from cardboard. This box measures 23 centimeters lengthwise, 23 centimeters tall, and 7.5 centimeters wide. I will show you around the box now. Here's the front, bottom, right side, top, left side, and the back side. Included in the box is the model as shown here, fully assembled, painted, and ready to display. Also included is this pathetic display stand. This display stand is totally inadequate to support the model. This model is heavier than other 1:200 scale models of its size, and this display stand will collapse if you choose to display this model on this display stand. So if you wish to display your model on a display stand, I strongly advise that you purchase a separate display stand, because this one, it's totally incompetent to support the model. It's flimsy, the assembly is cheap, and half of the time it doesn't even fit into the model itself. Like, this rod here is supposed to fit into a small part of the model here, and on my example here, it doesn't even fit. Here's the model itself. Let's do a quick 360. The fuselage length for this model is 19 centimeters, the wingspan is 17.4 centimeters, and the height is 6.5 centimeters. These dimensions are accurate to 1:200 scale. This model, This model is made primarily out of die-cast metal, and as mentioned earlier, it is heavier than other die-cast models of similar sizes. Let's begin with the fuselage. The nose profile on this model is decent. It's not 100% accurate to the A320 family nose shape, but it captures the shape somewhat well. The cockpit window printing is also pretty decent, but I do believe the cockpit windows may be a little bit large. This may be an illusion due to the raccoon mask on this model, so I could be incorrect on that. With regards to the rest of the fuselage, it's pretty decent. As you can see, there's a lot of detail. And here is the large Spirit title. That looks very good. No complaints about that. Yep, printed detail looks pretty good so far. Fuselage shapes look pretty solid other than the nose. Here's the vertical stabilizer. This looks pretty good. Paint application looks good. The shape of it looks good. The rudder looks very nice as well. Printed detail seems to be pretty consistent up here as well. No complaints. Here's the right side of this banana bus, as I like to call it. It's largely the same as the left side, so I won't provide as much commentary, but everything I've said about the left side can also be applied to the right side. Overall, we're off to a solid start. One thing you may have noticed earlier while I was handling the model was that it tipped over on its back. This has to do with the fuselage weight and how it's distributed. These models are tail heavy, so take that into account if you're going to display this model on its landing gear. It may have a tendency to tip over. I don't know of any way to fix this problem, but if you guys have a solution, I would greatly appreciate that suggestion in the comments. Moving on to the wings on this model are quite nicely detailed. They feature all three types of details that we look for on the wings, those being recessed panel lines for the control surfaces, all of which are clearly defined, especially here on the trailing edge. The printed detail looks pretty good as well, no complaints there. We have the overwing exits, those look pretty good. I see a bit of dust on there, but it's no biggie. As well as just general wing markings, and the different colors of the paint, those look pretty good. They're applied in the correct locations, and the colors seem correct as well. Very good. So here's the bottom of the right wing. Down here, there's not as much going on. There's no printed detail, but I don't think there necessarily needs to be, so no complaints there either. Moving on to the Sharklet tips here. Alright, so I'm noticing a few imperfections here on the Sharklets. Like the top edge here, it's a little bit too rounded. It should kind of flatten up here, but it doesn't. And I also see a sort of indentation here, a dent in the paint. But overall, the profile on the Sharklets is pretty accurate. What I do notice is that the angle of the Sharklets, they are kind of angled too far inwards towards the fuselage. They shouldn't be pointing vertically up like this. They should be angled out a little bit more. So that's the left Sharklet, and on the inside here you can see it says the howdy there. That's a signature feature from Spirit. The one on the right side fared off a bit better. The shape is more accurate, and I think it looks a little bit better. But I can see towards the center there some inconsistencies in the paint application. So the Sharklets appear to be another weak point for this model. Next up, the horizontal stabilizers. These look pretty good. The shape is accurate. The printed detail on them also looks pretty solid. The colors are accurate as well. Seems as though they're attached to the fuselage quite nicely too, so that's good to see. And here's the bottom side. These look pretty good as well. No complaints. Let's talk about the engines for a bit. The engines on this model are pretty good from the looks of it. The pylons have a lot of different painted details on them, which looks really good. This part here looks like a scratch, but actually it's not. I think this is an accurate detail. I don't know for sure. The exhaust nozzle looks pretty good as well. It's painted multiple colors of reflective silver, so that looks pretty good. The engine nacelle, I think the engine nacelle looks pretty good. The overall profile is mostly accurate. And here is the fan detail. This looks good as well. I do believe these are supposed to spin. They are a little bit stiff on my example here, but they're still pretty good. And the single marking on the spinner there is accurate as well. The printed detail in the nacelle is also pretty good. You can see there lots of details. And on the right side, the story is largely the same. So the engines on this model are decent. Don't see anything worthy of complaining about. Maybe here, I do see the gap between the pylon and the wing itself is a little bit spotty. Something definitely happened there. And even more so on the left side, there is a noticeable gap between the pylon and the wing, but nothing too terrible. This model has three-dimensional fuselage details in the form of antennas and gemmed lights. On the top of the aircraft, we have two of these large antennas. This one right here. This looks pretty good. No complaints about it. It's fit securely to the aircraft. Towards the midsection of the fuselage, we have the first of our two gemmed lights. This one looks pretty good. It's a nice red color. Here's the other big antenna. Looks good as well. And back here we have a smaller antenna. All the antennas on the top of the aircraft look good. On the bottom of the aircraft, we get a bit more diversity in terms of the selection of antennas. This one here appears to be bent into the fuselage a little bit. It's going to be very hard to correct this, but hey, at least it's attached to the aircraft. There's another one of the gemmed lights, and right in front of it is the Gemini Jets logo. There you go, you guys can see that. And behind it, this is the part where the display stand goes into the aircraft. Right behind it, we have another one of those small antennas. Once again, it appears to be bent into the fuselage a little bit. It's a very small antenna, though, so I can let that slide. And here we have one of those larger antennas seen on the top of the aircraft. Evidently, my dog would like to say something in this review as well. But anyway, back to antennas. The last one on this aircraft is one of these small ones on the bottom right side of the fuselage here. This one looks pretty good. Here's a view of the bottom of the aircraft. Here we can see that there's a lot of printed detail on the fuselage. Some of it is really, really small, and all of it looks pretty good. So that's nice to see. Here are the main landing gears. The landing gear on this model is permanently extended, and the quality of it definitely leaves something to be desired. Here, the strut on the left one, on the left one here, this looks pretty good. The wheels do roll. They're made out of rubber, and that's nice to see. But on the right side, something definitely happened here. The strut is partially collapsed there. I'm not sure why that's the case, but it is what it is. And the wheels on this one do not roll. Here's the nose gear. The nose gear on this model is also pretty decent. The wheels are made out of rubber and they roll like the main gears. And the nose gear also pivots. It rotates a little bit. Here's the front of the aircraft. Cockpit window printing looks a little bit slanted, but not by too much. Wing flex looks good. Engine clearance good as well. The gear balance might be a little bit asymmetrical. Doesn't look terrible though. Overall up here, looks adequate. This concludes my review. Now it's time for pros and cons. What does this model do well? It's very nicely detailed. It features a lot of details, and the quality control actually seemed pretty decent on this model. I didn't see as many defects or imperfections as I usually do on Gemini Jet's products, so that's nice to see. In terms of what this model could improve on or its cons, we did see imperfections with the landing gear, like the broken strut. That was pretty concerning. And also, this model is tail heavy, so it's kind of hard to display. And the included display stand is just terrible. So you might need to spend a bit of extra money on purchasing a different display stand if you want to display this on a display stand. So with that being taken into consideration, I do recommend this model. It's still pretty solid with its imperfections. If you're willing to put up with them, then I think you will enjoy this product. I personally think it's a solid model, and it's the only time any company has ever released this model thus far. So it really is your only choice as of the time of recording. So yeah, if you want to get it, go for it. It's decent with its imperfections, and I think you'll be happy with it. That's all I've got for today. Thanks for watching. If you're new to the channel, feel free to check out my other videos about the models I collect. If you want to show some support, go ahead and like this video and subscribe so you never miss another upload. Happy building, happy collecting. Thanks for watching. Please take good care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.